me make sure I'm not hanging out all alone, and we will go from there. Let's see, I'm not in the right neighborhood. Where is the discussion page? Here it is. Cool. There's discussions on Facebook. Cool. Can you see and hear me? Yes, cool. All right, I'm going to get started, and I'll come back to the chat thread once I'm a little ahead of this thing here. It's the last one. It's kind of sad. Chapter summary. Everything is already here now. Oh, let me get comfortable. All right. Nothing like losing sleep to make you feel like an old man. Let's sell yourself short with your power, with your potential. The practice. All right. Look at all these wonderful summaries. And Lee, thank you so much, and anyone else who supported in doing all this every week. This has been great. And here's a summary of a lot of the practices, and now we're on the questions. Okay. From last week, let me see how we're doing. Let me see how I gotta pace myself here. Okay. From last week, the vast expanse of space and time mean nothing to our consciousness, which is all places at once. Are you saying that if over some amount of years we visit the Earth, you said last week that we can, wait, you're saying that we visit the Earth in different Earth suits than our consciousness is in those Earth suits at all times? I said it blows our rational mind a bit, this concept. You said last week that we can visit and interact between ourself in time and let go of the restriction of time. How do we actually do that? Seems pretty huge. You could access yourself in past or future incarnations by closing your eyes and crossing over and finding yourself in past life regressions. There's plenty of good work that's been done on this. Like Brian Weiss did a bunch of work on past life regressions. There's a psychiatrist who's like, holy crap, this is actually happening. And so, yeah, I would look into past life regressions and learn that, you know, it's just a thin veil. Like you could find yourself. And so your consciousness can. You're not going to be able to embody two bodies simultaneously unless you're real good. But yeah, you can go find your consciousness parked up in different times, no problem. So I got these lozenges. My throat's getting a little hoarse. I forgot to turn off the heater last night. Does this further lead to parallel dimensions? Yes. How's it that archaeologists can find evidence of ancient civilization if it is all now? And how about healing past traumas in our energy field? How if it's all actually now? Great question. It means you're thinking about this stuff. There is linear time here on Earth. This is, obviously it's real, like, you know, the minutes go by and we have that happening. So on the third dimension in which our bodies coexist, there's a very real linear element to time that does go by, right? It does come to pass. So that's what we're talking about, because outside of the third dimension, it's all kind of infinite, right? And you can come and go as you please. So we can access and track historical things with civilizations in the third dimension. And arguably, there's been a lot of other dimensional kind of civilizations that have lived simultaneously here. Now we're getting into like weird woo-woo, but there's a lot of that out there. Zechariah Sitchin wrote a lot about Nibiru and the Babylonian text that kind of pointed to that. There's a lot of hollow earth theory and talk about all sorts of like different beings that live in the center of the earth and on the moon and all sorts of, you know, now we're going to cross over into crazy land. But there's a lot of serious people having very interesting conversations about that stuff. And I would say if that is interesting to you, go look at it. About healing past traumas in our energy field. Again, those past traumas happened in a way that were registered historically in our memories, in our kind of sequential memories, but the pain is here and now. So we just have to like move through the illusion of time. But time is kind of like remember the old cataloging system in public libraries? It's just a way for us to go find a book, right? It's a way for us to find an emotional event and something that transpired. So use time to find it, but then realize that you have to heal it now, and you have to heal it in the now, right? Moving to this week's questions. In the creation myth of the ancient goddess tradition, the planet Earth was formed by the goddess Sophia. Can you please explain this a little more fully, please? What's the ancient Gnostic tradition exactly? The Gnostics were around for thousands of years before the Aryan tribes kind of came down from the north and started kind of setting up monotheistic religious practices, and specifically like the Hebrews and like, you know, just Abraham's guys talked about sky gods. But the Gnostic tradition has always been this kind of very open dialogue, discourse-friendly intelligentsia of kind of spiritual leaders from antiquity. And the Gnostics were in charge of the Library of Alexandria. They were in charge of a lot of things. And then when the early Christians finally like took a hold, they just like wiped them out and killed them. There's a couple of great books on this. Obviously, the one that you just referenced, which is Not in His Image. There's a movie that did relative justice to this, called Agora. And then my friend Kaya, who you might have seen in an Urban Monk interview, did a historical novel based on this time. But yeah, these guys knew what they were talking about, and they took this kind of lore from antiquity, and you know, that was their stuff. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying this is what the thinking was for humanity for thousands of years before the more warlike tribes came and like established the hegemony of their own god, right? Sophia awakens to the world of her solitary dreaming, the template of Anthropos. What is a template of Anthropos? It's the dream that becomes us. So within her dreaming, she becomes the earth in her body, and within her body, we are all born of her as parts of her. And so we are the Anthropos, and we, you know, it all happens with you know, the soul, right? SOL, and the interaction with the God that is the sun, and the goddess that is the earth. So it's a long tradition of kind of a very interesting myth. I'm not going to go through it here, but I would highly recommend reading about it. It's very interesting. This wake up and get involved statement, I'm guessing it's okay to start in your own backyard, and as your vitality, bravery, and warrior self increases, the opportunities may present themselves to us. And at that time, we should step up. Yeah, I mean, look, if you don't got it, don't stand out there and just get annihilated. Juice it up. Charge your batteries. Get strong. Eventually, you'll have more energy than you know what to do with, and then you'll step out and do something with that. The Bora Bora taboo line story seems ridiculous to read, but I can see it occurred due to the addictive nature of processed foods, the trap of the economy system, and poor education, DNA, and tradition, culture beliefs. Do you think that this is likely to change in our lifetime? Yes. I think that either it changes in our lifetime or we head towards an extinction event. And I mean that. So every single one of you listening to this right now needs to understand the magnitude of how fucked this whole thing is, and how we each need to step in and stand for life. And I truly believe that. And you know, the data, the data is pointing to the same conclusion. People just don't want to look at it. So we have to step in and heal that. That's the challenge of our time. Can you please discuss the ego and the need for taking credit or good deeds, and why we need to let that go? Page 207, the random acts of kindness. Our egos would love to take credit for these actions, but drop it. Simply do good deeds without conditions or strings that the higher self perform. Can you please discuss the notion of credit where credit's due, and further issue of wanting people to like our creative works? Yeah, I think I mentioned Maimonides, who's like the famous rabbi who kind of wrote his treatise on kind of the tiers of philanthropy, and the best type is the selfless, anonymous type. And the point is, the philanthropy should flow through you as you are a vessel for all life. You're a vessel for creation. You're a vessel for God. And the more you try to take credit, the less of a pure channel you are. Our interest in taking credit has to do with our self-identity and needing to feel loved and approved, usually from a parent. So what I would say is, if you were to learn where that comes from and respectfully bow to that and allow the charity to move through you without any credit, it will be a very powerful catalyst to your spiritual awakening, because you won't take yourself so seriously. You won't take seriously the parts of you that need that. I'm still a bit confused about the mental practice. What am I doing right now? I can see how that it's bringing awareness to your daily terms, your mantra for life, but it's dedicated sitting on a cushion. But during a dedicated sitting on a cushion episode, isn't it more about quieting the mind? What am I doing right now? Am I drifting? I wonder if I should. I think I'm better during the dedicated practice time to use Zen 12 you recommend, or do a healing sound repeatedly. What am I doing? So the premise of this "what am I doing right now" meditation came from my Zen master, Yohun, who was asking us to not do. Effort is the enemy of awakened consciousness, and just simply being is where all the power of the universe lies. And so he said, if you're going to do anything, the only thing that's acceptable to do in this practice is to ask, what am I doing? So that you can immediately disengage in that and go back to just being. We just have such a hard time with that in the West, because we're so good at doing Zen 12 or doing a healing sound, that it's kind of an advanced exercise. But I'm going to challenge you to step into that, because that's the good stuff. You mentioned last week about how at some point you might spend more time in the mountains and continue the work you started. Tell us a bit about how you came to your decision to hang up the robes and become an urban monk rather than live in a monastery. Seems like it was a good decision, I'd have to add. Thank you. I just didn't feel at home up there. I gotta say, like, it was really easy, but I felt like, and I don't mean this in an arrogant way, so I hope it doesn't come across this way. I felt like a Ferrari sitting in the garage not getting driven. Like, I had actual skills. Like, I'm a doctor, I know how to use the internet, I speak good English, and all sorts of things. And a lot of the people that were up there were kind of like washed up on the beach, where like society just wasn't really good to them. And that was the reality that I was meant to experience, because it helped drive my decision to say I'm needed down there, right? And not in this like weird arrogant thing. Like, it was just like, I don't want to go down there. Like, I didn't, like, it wasn't like, oh, I have some holy mission. Like, I was told that, and I knew that that was true, and I was like, shit, now what am I going to do? And you know, the narrative was, go find your way, right? Go find your way, go pressure test this stuff. So it wasn't a difficult decision, because it was self-evident at the time. And I look back now at like what I've done since this decision was in 2001. So in the last 15 years, what I've done to kind of positively help humanity versus what I could have done up there, I think I'm pretty sure I made the right decision. But you know, I have a pretty hot burn rate. I'm doing a lot of shit, and you know, it's not as relaxing. Obviously, like, I'm good. I'm not freaked out, but it's not like I'm levitating talking to you right now, because I'm putting an incredible amount of energy into all the projects that I have powering through my own goodwill, intention, and hard work. So eventually, I'll throttle back on some of that, get an organization that could do more of that, and you know. Get to that next level where I could spend more time sitting on my ass and, you know, having that balance. But, you know, I'm in the make hay time of my life, where I'm building a very interesting conscious capital transparent, fix the world, mission-oriented company that is going to go after it. And now's the time to push, right? And then, you know, when that has naturally come to a conclusion, I will chill out more. I was looking back at chapter 3, and there was discussion about you need a purpose in life, calm the mind. You need a purpose in life, calm the mind, do the work you already know. And I think this is an issue a lot of people are really getting stuck. Any further gems on this topic? Yeah, do the work, know yourself. Question the person who needs the credit for the philanthropy. Question the person who thinks just not doing is too hard. And step through these quote-unquote weaknesses and step into your power. And as you do so, all those narratives fall apart. It doesn't matter what you do is the real answer. But then what you end up doing comes from divine inspiration, and it's exactly what you should be doing. So what you think you should do is probably wrong until you've done more work on yourself. So my answer to that always is get to work, right? Get to work. Start working on yourself. The more you practice, the more you simplify, and the more you let go, the more self-evident that answer becomes. Is it fair to use our rational mind to think that famous rugby player died at 40 years of age, but he'd done his life work, so his time was up? And we feel sad for the 7-year-old accidentally killed their 3-year-old sibling. Is it fair to say that we can grieve a loss? We get some solace from the fact that they may have chosen that path or did. Some of those life lessons being imposed on family members seem pretty harsh. Yeah, life is harsh. Life is harsh. And the lessons and the growth and the experiences that we glean from some of those things make us strong and make us resilient and make us step into the work that we're destined to do. And it's sometimes those bitter lessons that drive us out of our comfort, right? That drive us out of our complacency. Just to kind of go back to the previous question, I was born in 1975 in Tehran, Iran. My father had German education. He'd gone to school in Germany to become a civil engineer, and a civil engineer in a developing country is like a king. He was doing top secret airports for the Shah. I mean, they were picking up with like 3 limousines, helicopters picking him up, taking him everywhere. You know, basically, I would have basically had someone wiping my ass for me the rest of my life. Like, I was born into a scenario where I was a rich kid. Then the revolution happens. Shit hits the fan. We get out of there with the shirts on our backs. My dad has a spine surgery just as it was happening because he jumped off some wall and was being a moron. And then we came over and he was managing a Carl's Jr. and building a life from scratch and feeling really sorry for himself. So, who would Pedram have been had those harsh, bitter, nasty, unfortunate events not happened? What would I be as some Iranian rich kid living there in an alternate universe where those harsh events didn't manifest? I don't know. I don't know if I would give a shit about the things that I give a shit about right now. I don't know if I would be so emphatically fighting for the underdog and looking for social justice and looking at how life isn't fair if I would have grown up with a silver spoon in my mouth and all that, right? And so that's my point, is I'm happy to be where I'm at now and hustling every day of my life to make ends meet, to feed an organization that's trying to save the world, and feed yet another mouth. And I don't feel sorry for myself because the perspective that gave me, the bitter pill that I swallowed in that life lesson made me who I am today. So I think that's part of, that kind of sums up the last 2 questions in my personal answer there. What about if someone else takes a life, say in terrorism acts? Is that all part of predestined path? Yeah, presumably. And you'll reincarnate and come back and take another body. And so how are you, why were you involved in that web, and what pain and suffering was inflicted that then created a catalyzing event in the people around you that drove them towards the greater good? I mean, I think that's the best way I can answer that. And I got to say, look, it's shitty. It's not cool. And if you see an injustice, you got to step in and change it. And I think you all see, I have a handful of new interviews about this stuff coming out next week. I'm stepping into it, and I invite you to step into it, because when you see that, and if there's anything you can do about it, it is your duty to do so. But the people that died in Paris catalyzed something in me and millions of others to step in and say, what the hell are we doing? And that is somehow part of a greater narrative of humanity healing some wounds and coming together and finding our humanity and finding love. So I never said it was going to be easy, but I said it was going to be Kung Fu. And the literal translation of Kung Fu is hard work. So I invite you to continue to do hard work on your own life, in your personal life, for your family, for your community, for your world. And as you get better and better at doing hard work, you won't bitch about it, and you'll just be doing more awesome things for the world. And people say, I can't believe how, she did that or he did that. And it's because you're good at doing life. We've come to the end of our teachings from Rise and Shine. Thank you, Pedram, for your time, patience, and miracles and themes. Any final words for us? Where do we go from here? Do the work, I'm guessing. Yeah. And soon I'm going to say, read The Urban Monk. It's kind of, The Urban Monk is a very different book than Rise and Shine. I was very, very much more flavored monk than I was flavored urban at that time. And that reflected sentiment and wisdom that came from my years in monastic settings, and it was just a younger, different guy. And so The Urban Monk has a very different contemporary conversation that I think and hope that you'll enjoy. But yeah, to answer your own question, do the work. Do the work, do the work. I can't do it for you. I'm a dad of two who's, trying to get some sleep and go to Thanksgiving tomorrow. But I am 100% in your corner. I'm here to help you, but I can't do it for you. So I beg you to do it for yourself. I beg you to do it for your world. And I want to thank you. This has been great. Again, Lee, thank you for setting all this up. It's been really awesome. I really encourage you to continue the work. I'm going to be adding a ton of really cool new resources in the Urban Monk Academy. I'm doing a 7-day reboot. I'm going to be filming a ton of video this next couple weeks, and I've already been filming a ton of video, and that stuff's all coming in the next couple weeks, and y'all get it for free, because I promised you guys when you signed up that you're going to get lifetime access. And that's now changing because we simply can't afford to do that. So our new friends are going to pay more than you guys paid. And there'll be kind of an annual fee that you guys are exempt from. The one thing that I do ask, please, 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 fill out this thing. Give me some testimonials. Help me know how I've been able to help you, so other people in the world who look at this Urban Monk thing and this guy don't go like, what the hell is this? This seems like too much work. I don't want to do it. But they understand that the process that we've all gone through, and for some of you, multiple iterations, that process has fundamentally changed your lives. And I want to know how. And again, it's not about me taking credit, but it's for other people to understand what the hell this work is, so that we can help them help themselves. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is really share what has transformed in you through the work that can be relatable for the people who are considering doing the work. Because if the work has done wonders for you, it will do wonders for others, but they need to know about it. And there's just a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of bullshit out there. There's a lot of people selling solutions that aren't great. And so I want to make sure that people have access to a solution that, at least in my opinion, comes from purity and purity of intent. And, we're here to help them. And I expect you all to be there to help them, because this discussion and there's a lot more of this that's coming. We're done with Rise and Shine. I'll do one of these for the Urban Monk at some point, in the first or second quarter of next year. So let's do that together, okay? And the book releases February 2. The new website will go up soon, and I'll share it with you. And again, here's the survey. I got to go. I'm getting called. I started to see things experience before really conscious about vibrations. Great. Gina, that's great. I love that. Can you please put that, do the survey, Gina, and put that in your survey as well, just so I have that kind of somewhere where I'm going to lose this chat thread. And I love you guys. Thank you, and thank you again, Lee, for doing this. We'll get another party started once the new book is out and the dust is settled, probably like, March or April or so. But in the interim, I'm about to hook you guys up with some cool stuff. But I really need to know what's helped. So help me help you and more people. I love you. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you on the weekly calls still. This is just the book discussion that's over, right? So I'll see you all on the weekly calls starting next week. Bye.